This week we follow Toren. Last time we saw him, he was at a party with many of the nobles of Garan. During the night of that party, both Gwimdar Hash and Ali Babakar Takar struck out, and his first night as the gentleman. During that party, in another part of the city, Gwimdar Hash and Ali Babakar Takar struck out. It was his first night as the gentleman. Elsewhere in the city, we saw Rhea as she traveled out into a storm and conquered it. But now, we return to Toren. What has he been doing these past 3 days since the party? Well, we shall see. For it all started when on the balcony, looking out into the night, he saw a strange figure lurking, staring him down. Who was that figure? Toren wandered the halls of the palace, exploring and trying to familiarize himself with the surroundings. It was long and difficult to get used to these buildings. He was so used to the compact and well-worn buildings of the Arasi that this opulent, large, and incredibly built and manufactured palace was beyond anything he had ever seen before. But he would do it. The fear of Arasi had abandoned him. So, he would make the most of this place. He would become its king, and he would guide it into an age of prosperity unlike it had ever seen before. Its previous king was a king of war, a king of devastation, a king that brought about a revolution. Its current king was a king of peace, a king of pacifism. He brought out an age of peace. He would be a king of ingenuity. He would bring about new technologies. He would bring about new laws of governance that would revolutionize the world. And he would do it. He would become the king of Garan. He had all these thoughts while sitting at his new desk. He looked out the window and over into the city. I am Toren Arasi. I am Toren Arasi. I am Toren Arasi. Soon to be Toren Garan. Yes, I can do this. He made his way to the door, stepped out, and made his way into the council chamber. They were meeting. He had received an invitation this morning that he would be welcome at the gathering of nobles. And so he made his way to the council chamber. Many of the servants along the way saw him and whispered to themselves as they moved on. Yes, it's bound to be whispers. I am new. I don't know what I bring. Yes, I can do this. I have ideas that I was never able to voice in Arasi. But here I can make a difference. He made his way to the council chamber and knocked on the doors. A servant stepped out, looked him up and down, and said, I see you are here, my lord Toren. I will announce you, and you will step in, and there will be another servant that will take you to your seat. Thank you very much. Introducing Toren of Orasi. He entered the council chamber and made his way to his seat. There was already a plaque down with his name on it, so he was easily able to find it. As he sat at the seat, he looked out at the many nobles gathered, many of them looking back at him. Their looks were mysterious. He had no idea what they were thinking. Would they be thinking well of him? Would they be thinking poor of him? He did not know, but he did know that they would be judging his every move. The king, Eldanas Bargaran, started the meeting. So, there are many motions that have been brought forward, especially with the new arrival of the prince from afar. One of the motions regarding him was the crowning of the prince, to make him crown prince, and so that he will, in the case of my death, become king alongside my daughter, who will be queen. Shall we start there? One of the older nobles, a pale man with a long, curling beard. I don't know if it is necessary to crown him, especially since they are not married yet. It is important that they get to know each other. For if the princess does not like him, we can send him away. No rush to make this foreigner our king. Another man across the table with bronze skin, round glasses, and long hair looked over. Well, I disagree. I feel that it is important for security reasons, as we do not have any other candidates to be her ladyship's spouse. I feel it is important to crown him sooner rather than later. At that notion, many of the separate nobles started speaking up and speaking to each other. Toren had gotten lost in it, listening to everyone. But when he made eye contact with the princess, Amali, she looked at him, she nodded, and under her breath, she spoke some word. I would like to make my peace. The others looked at Toren. All eyes were on him now, as silence filled the room. The king, Eldanas Bargaran, looked at him. Very well. Make your peace, as you say. I am new to this place. I arrived only a few days ago. However, I have felt more at home here in these few days, being welcomed by the king, by Princess Amali, and by many of the others I have met along the way, than I really ever did in Arasi. In Arasi, being born as a prince, you were often killed. My mother spared me for some unknown reason. Maybe it was for this. I do not know. She never told me. She never really associated with me. I was simply a decoration to be used. But here I can make a difference. Here I can help the people, defend them, represent them, trust them as they, I hope, will come to trust me. You all do not know me well, and I do not know you well. But I would like to come to know you all. For if I do become your king, I will need your counsel. So, please, allow me to serve this kingdom. I have many ideas and many contraptions. In my spare time in Arasi, I was an inventor and an engineer. I learned and I taught myself many things that I would like to teach you all. Would like to teach this kingdom. That is all I have to say. Judge me as you will. The room remained silent. After a few minutes, the older man, who had spoken first, "This man's great. It is very good. I propose we vote upon him becoming crown prince." The king looked out across the council. "Very well. We will vote. All in favor." The older man, the bronze-skinned man from before, the princess, and many others. Only two were in opposition of it. The Lord of Agriculture and the Lord Poco were both opposed. The king looked over at them. The king looked over at the two opposing votes. "Might I ask why you are in opposition of the vote for him as crown prince?" The Lord Poker looked up. "Well, as I understand it, he has not been here long. He does not know our ways nor our laws. As a purveyor of the law and commander of our forces, I see it as a liability to have him as our leader." Good reasoning. And you, Lord of Agriculture, Talbin? Talbin looked over. "Well, there is many things that he said he could do and provide. That's all well and good, but as Lord of Agriculture, I take charge of all the farming, the food, and it can be quite. I do not want to see our people starve, and seeing a new leader come by it's difficult for me to vote for without having seen enough of him. However, I respect the will of the council, and will decide to change my vote to a vote in favor." "Well then, as there are more in favor than there are opposed, the council has decided, and as have I as king, that Toren Bar-Garan shall be named crown prince." Many of the other younger lords around the table uh, clapped and congratulated him. The old lord with the long beard simply stroked it. I think you'll make a fine king. Toren felt proud of himself. He was able to convince the council that he could be useful, that he could help. He started to well up with pride, but then the dark feeling came over him again. Someone was watching him. He turned and looked out the window. So much time had already passed. So much deliberation. It was night. And out there, on a rooftop, staring into the palace, staring at Toren, was the figure again. Toren shuddered. No. The others looked at him. What is wrong? Oh, what's wrong? They all chimed up. Sorry, He looked back, and it was gone. I thought I saw something. It was frightening. I suppose I'm feeling the weight of my new position already. Toren. The king looked out across them. Very well. Perhaps it is time we adjourn. And he called for them all. He called for them to adjourn, and they all made their way out. As Toren was leaving, Princess Amalie stepped towards him. Toren. Yes, princess. You did good. You impressed me. I I I've never met someone from outside of Garon. Well, I suppose I've met delegates, but you seem so natural, like just a person. Yet you're a prince. Well, as I said, Arasi is a matriarchy. Princes do not fare well. We keep to ourselves and we keep to the side. Or we die. That must have been terrifying. Well, it can become necessary in times of great unrest to, I think, well, it was the life I led, but now this is the life I will lead. And I hope to lead it with you, princess. Princess blushed a little. Thank you, Toren. I think you'll make a fine king. I think you'll make a fine queen, Amalie. They nodded to each other. They linked arms and walked out, continuing to speak to each other as they walked through the halls. Many saw them, many smiled, many whispered, and one frowned. That Lord Poco. He stared, his eyes digging into Toren. Finally, he scoffed and walked away. The Lord Poco, he seems very agitated, or annoyed with me, or something. Well, 7 years ago, his entire company died. I heard that since that day, he's always been very standoffish. Oh, it's horrible. Indeed it is. They made their way. They continued their way down the hall. They continued down the hallway. They continued down the hallway, talking all the way. Toren escorting the princess to her room, and then making his way back to his own. As he came back into his room, he sat down on his bed. Oh, I did it. I'm crown prince. They said there was going to be a ceremony. I suppose that'll be tomorrow. Don't know. I suppose we'll see. I'm crown prince of Garon. Toren Bar Garon. I like it. He went to sleep for the night. When he woke in the morning, he was escorted to the main hall, where bale horns were sounded. Bale horns are long instruments that, when it gets to the bell, they're long horns. When it gets to the bell, wave out until it eventually opens. When they made their way over to Toren, stepped up to the podium where the king was. Toren of Orossi, do you swear to uphold the laws of Garon? I swear. Do you swear to serve its people? I swear. Do you swear to protect it from invaders, even if those invaders are from your home? This is my home, so I swear. Very well. By the powers vested in me as king, I name you Crown Prince Toren Bar Garon. He placed a crown upon Toren's head. Many cheers were heard throughout the chamber. And then suddenly, a crash rang out as a figure broke through one of the windows. Long cloak, a beaked mask, and glowing glass goggles over the beaked mask. Sorry for crashing the party, or in this case, crowning of the prince, but this wasn't supposed to happen. So, and he pulled out some kind of long metal tube with a trigger and a wooden handle, pointed it at Toren, and fired. Toren screamed out as he hit the floor. Guards ran over to the man. Halt! You will come with us. I think not. And he slammed down some kind of pellet. Smoke went everywhere, and when it dissipated, he was gone. Toren could feel something within himself. This bullet, that piece of metal that entered him, was covered in something. Poison. He was poisoned. No wonder the killer didn't try and get a perfect shot. He didn't need to. Toren looked up at the king. Poison? Toren vomited. Help! The king looked down at him. Surgeon! The royal surgeon! Bring the royal surgeon now! The royal surgeon ran as fast as he could over to Toren. He looked at him. He examined the wound. The wound has entered. He's not gone through. What kind of wound is this? I've never seen anything like it. The poison. I can identify the poison. He looked at him. Foam started to come out of Toren's mouth. He reached into his pack, pulled out some kind of long vine, twisted it. A juice started to come out of it. He dripped it into Toren's mouth. The foam started to disintegrate, and then rose even more violently. Toren started convulsing. This is not possible. I brought in another plant, drained it in. He kept trying different herbs, different concoctions, taking out medications, putting it in, but nothing seemed to work. It worked for a second, and then it exploded with even more vigor. And finally, Toren's heart stopped. But then started beating again, and Toren heard a whisper. It is not your time to die yet. I will see you become king of this land. Let us see what you can do with my power. And now we leave Toren. Over the past while, he has been experiencing many new things. And now we leave Toren and make our way out into the city, where next week we will cover Gwimdar Hash and Nuli Babakar Takar once more, as he and Rhea join in the nightly patrol together.